Greetings, fellow nerds and geeks. Why don't you pull yourself up a chair, grab yourself a beverage, and prepare to enjoy a geek-tastic conversation. Welcome to the Geek Easy.
Welcome back to the Geek Easy podcast. This is episode number 72 for October 3rd, 2019. October 2nd, 2019.
October 1st.
One of those 2 days.
Yeah, is when the drop date. So somewhere in October lies this episode.
That's right. My name is Pixel Dan Erdley, and I am once again joined by my co-hosts, Mr. Jonathan Leonard.
Hey.
And Jaron McCaffrey.
What's up, guys?
What is going on, dudes?
Same old?
Same old?
With a question mark?
All right. That's fair. Well, we are back once again to talk about some of the latest news, primarily in the entertainment scene, and it's a lot of very nerdy, very comic booky type stuff it looks like today, but that's nothing unusual for this show, I don't think.
And kind of like no bombshells, but just some fun things to throw about.
Yeah, I don't think anything here is like too big or crazy, and I'm not even sure how much discussion we're going to get out of all of it, but we're going to throw it out there and see
we could call one of them a bombshell if we didn't call it a month ago.
Do you want to lead off with that?
Should we, or should we?
We should probably lead off with it.
Let's lead off.
Because it's the big news that everybody's already I think it is the biggest thing that everybody's already been talking about for the past several days. And that, of course, is that Spider-Man is back in the MCU.
Without ever having left.
He has returned. Left. I think we all kind of called it. I mean, none of us seemed very worried about it when we were talking about it on the show last episode. Here we are, one episode later. I think that was just
2 episodes ago.
Maybe it was 2 episodes ago. But
feels like a month, but maybe not.
You're right. Yes, it was 2 episodes ago because it was when we were going over the D23 stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, seriously, it's been a month, and here we are, and everything's hunky dory again.
I mean, we expanded it out into a solid 20 minutes worth of talk, I'm sure, about how everything was going to be fine no matter what. But I believe we definitely rode that line of the good chance it's going to work out anyway. There's still plenty of time, and lo and behold,
it worked out
anyway. Yeah, absolutely. I love this article on Forbes about it. Starts off with
who wrote it?
Mark Hughes.
Okay, don't know.
So it says
I read a guy on Forbes. I like.
Okay, all right. So Mark Hughes on Forbes says it seemed inevitable because it was. Marvel Studios and Sony Pictures announced this morning that Spider-Man will return to the MCU after the studios reached a new deal to continue their partnership. And that was all it was about anyway, right? Like,
theoretically.
It just wasn't too far-fetched to think that they were going to come to some sort of an agreement at some point, right?
Yeah, because the numbers, as we discussed last time, I think it started out Marvel was getting like 5% of the gross, and they wanted 50%. And they would take a 50% stake in the paying also, in the budgeting.
Right.
And neither side was budging, and that was that at the time. But it felt like negotiating tactics as much as anything. And I believe the deal I read at the end of the day was that Marvel's going to pay for 25% and take 25%. So they just met right in the middle. Yeah. And now they get to keep making movies.
There you go. Yep, so this goes on to say that the new deal sees Marvel Studios producing the next installment of Spidey cinematic franchise, with Kevin Feige once again taking the lead role in production. Spider-Man's also going to appear in other MCU movies going forward, just as he has previously. The third film is set for release in July 16th, 2021, so it's already got a release date and everything. It also says Feige made an interesting remark during the announcement. It's hard to say whether it's a throwaway line or a hint at something more substantive. But when commenting on his pleasure at reaching a new deal with Sony, Feige said, "As Sony continues to develop their own Spider-Verse, you never know what surprises the future might hold." So who knows what that means? If it means anything,
means Disney's going to buy Sony.
Disney's going to buy Sony next. I mean, the hostile takeover continues.
Yeah, that's the next step, right?
Disney's on its way to owning the world.
Disney wants to own the rest of its Marvel properties and Walkman.
That's right. Yep.
Excellent.
And the Walkman.
Yep. And Betamax technology.
They got to get their hands on the Walkman. Well, Sony was the first one to throw their hat in Blu-ray, right? But they don't actually own Blu-ray.
I don't think they own it, but they were one of the early adopters. But they were also the company that I believe that developed Betamax.
Oh, okay.
And I think they took their stand at the time on Betamax and failed miserably, and then learned that lesson when the whole Blu-ray HD DVD or whatever
they
thing
didn't dig in on that one.
No, yeah. As far as the Spider-Man bit goes, the way I read it was that it will be the third installment of the Spider-Man franchise, and then at least one other Marvel movie of some sort. But the stuff I read, and I have no idea how insider it is, but the stuff I read was indicating that it was like one bigger team-up type movie. So I don't know if that means one more Spider-Man and Avengers 5, or if that means one more Spider-Man and some sort of Civil War type movie down the road, or if it's going to go on beyond that. Now, I will say, as much as I was confident that we'd get more Marvel Spider-Man, I'm going to go ahead and, at this point, I am personally going to be happy with that one more Spider-Man, one more team-up, and if it continues past that, cool, but as much as I was all for, it'll be fine, it'll work out, we'll get more Marvel Spider-Man, I'm at the same level going, okay, this might be it though.
Might be.
Yeah.
So
we might get it forever, but I'm going to be content if we just finish off that trilogy.
So
and get one more appearance.
Are you getting some Marvel fatigue, John?
No, not at all.
No,
I'm not like that's not what I'm hoping for. I'm just I won't allow myself to be disappointed at that point.
Gotcha. You're happy that we're getting more.
Yes,
and you're not going to be greedy and demand even more beyond that.
And when it just like when 2 came out. When Far From Home came out and made all the money and everyone was super happy, and then all of a sudden one day I woke up and Spider-Man was gone.
Yeah,
that was a huge bummer.
I was gonna say, can we please not end the third one with a cliffhanger just in case?
Yeah,
and let's go ahead and just give that one an ending, and if he comes back after that, great. But I don't want a cliffhanger where we're not gonna get a resolution, which is what I was a little worried about with this one, because this one was. Like, they did that big reveal right at the end there, and then they're like, oh, by the way, he's not in this universe anymore.
Well, and that's awesome. Almost exactly my point, because even with that cliffhanger, I assumed we'd get the Sony version of the follow-up, so I didn't think it would be completely dead, because it was still going to be a Tom Holland Spider-Man no matter what. Mm-hmm. But there was that air of, man, if this really is it, that's a weird bummer of a way to let it go out.
Yeah.
So, being that we've had this scare... and now we've moved past it, I'm going to look at that as telegraphing the end. And so now if the end is after 3, I won't complain. If it keeps going, that'll be preferred. But if that's the end, I got what I needed.
I get you.
So how about this for a fun thought? What if they went the route of his team-up movie being sort of like an MCU Sony live-action version of Into the Spider-Verse where he meets Miles Morales? But Miles is from, if they go all in on the multiverse being a real thing, the Sony Spider-Man universe is part of the multiverse. And then Miles goes on to be Sony's Spider-Man in the Sony movies. How cool would that be? I would be okay with that happening.
That'd be cool.
I just legit got chills.
Right? I mean, that could totally work. And then they can even do like a fun little crossover thing with Peter and Miles, kind of introducing this Spider-Man as from another multiverse, and then he goes on and, that just happens to be where we've already introduced Venom, and we're going to be introducing Black Cat and Silver Sable, and, all these other plans that they supposedly have, and then we've got Miles just hanging out over there in the Sony world.
Yeah, legit chills.
That would be fun.
That would be awesome.
That would be super fun. I'd love that.
And then they could both have their own.
Yeah, and then we can just have them both existing at the same time, just like comic books.
And it would legitimately be like 2 alternate universes.
Yes.
Expanding at the same time.
Come on, Sony and Marvel. That's the kind of stuff you need to be working out here. That would be fun.
Only if Tobey Maguire shows up as Peter B. Parker.
Oh my God! Yeah! Yes! Why wouldn't he? Holy
Because
cow! Look, John's brain
so
just
busy
shut
with-
down.
Yeah,
Dude, Tobey Maguire is Peter B. Parker? Are you kidding me? That's the greatest. Oh my god. Yeah, I want it. I want this to happen. Come on.
Oh my god.
Holy cow.
I
Yep.
think I'm retiring from the internet.
Yep. Because you'll be back to talk about that
We just
movie.
had the best idea.
Yeah.
Why bother going forward?
Why bother? Well, there's nothing left to discuss on this episode,
Wow.
so make sure you guys subscribe and all that stuff, and we'll see you next time. Awesome. See?
Yeah, okay. So, you guys are the best. I was about to make a joke about us being on Sony putting us on payroll for these ideas, but I really think you guys should put applications in.
Who does Andrew Garfield get to be?
Peter Porker?
Can he be Spider-Man Noir?
Oh, Noir, yeah, Noir.
Noir?
Yeah.
Peter
Oh,
Porker.
Nicolas Cage has
No,
to be
you
Noir.
Oh, yeah, it's Nicolas
he can-
Cage just has to show up
Yeah.
as Spider-Man Noir.
Yeah, for sure. No, Andrew Garfield can be the one who dies in the beginning.
Oh,
yeah.
hey, there you go.
Just-
there you go. They're just going to do a full live-action version of that movie.
Well, what's funny is like when you first started talking about doing like a version of that was my first thought is, well, I don't think Sony would ever wanted it because that's a big property of their own right now that they're running with, and it was a
Right.
huge deal between money and awards and all that stuff. I don't think they'd ever want a version of that. But then you took it a step farther to make it into something bigger than that.
Yeah.
So I still don't imagine they'll have the foresight to do anything like that.
Yeah,
but
they
man,
probably won't.
does your idea have merit?
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Well, hold on, because I mean, think about how far down the line that'll be. That would give us at least time for 2 Spider-Verse animated sequels to fail.
Quotes.
And then they'll be ready for a reboot, right? They'll be like, "Well, that first time we did it was awesome. How do we do that?
How'd we do that?
How do we do that again? What if we make it live action?"
And then Kevin Feige's like, "Hey
Bam.
guys, I got a great idea. Yeah. All right, so bring me live action Miles now. I'm ready for it.
good job.
Let's make that happen.
Oh, Andrew Garfield could totally be Spider-Man 2099, theoretically, too.
That could be fun.
Yeah.
Or just the Scarlet Spider for no reason.
It's funny how excited I am for Into the Spider-Verse sequel just to get some Miguel in there.
Do you think he'll actually be in it? Do you
I
think
don't know why. I don't know why they do that end and then not.
I just hope we get pointing 60s Spider-Man a whole bunch, like at the end of the movie.
You know,
can you imagine him hanging out with Spider-Ham?
for sure.
If they're both on the team?
The 60s
The 60s
Spider-Man,
pointing Spider-Man
and Spider-Ham?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's another one I don't want to recast, though. We just have John Mulaney do that. Is that all the Spider-Man?
Well, it's not like they're going to recast the real pig, John. So
Yeah.
it'll have to be somebody.
Look, we've gotten Howard
voiced.
the Dirk in the Howard the Dirk.
Howard
Howard the Dirk or McGurd. Howard the Duck has been in the MCU, so we could have a Spider-Ham, and he would be animated just like that, and it could totally be his voice.
Howard the Duck is your go-to on that, not Rocket.
Okay, Rocket Raccoon. He's there too.
There's precedent.
Well, Howard the Duck's about. He's going to have one of those cartoons, isn't he?
He is going to have a cartoon on Hulu.
He's one of the Hulu
He's one
ones.
of the Hulu like adult cartoons.
This is man, my segues are all blowing up in my head because I got 3 of them set up right now.
Say them
but
all. Let's see what happens.
No, I'll veer into the Hulu one. Fun bit of interesting news that popped up this weekend that would be a bummer had I heard the original news. I think, but I don't remember it. I guess Hulu had planned on doing a Ghost Rider series based on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Ghost Rider, and then canceled it.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah. And that's one of those where, like, I saw I don't remember ever seeing it as a... I feel like I heard it was an idea, but I don't remember it ever being, like, a plan. And then I read that they had canceled it and went, I didn't even have the chance to be excited about this, and it's been taken away from me.
Ghost Riders. That Ghost Rider is so awesome.
That would have been a fun
That actor
Hulu
is
show.
phenomenal.
Which Ghost Rider is that? Because that's like
Robbie
the
Reyes, I think. His
yeah.
name is?
He's one of the more modern.
He's the one that he
Ghost
drives
Riders.
the
He's got,
car.
like, a car.
Yeah.
That actor was awesome. That storyline was awesome. When the spoiler alert, you haven't seen it, have you, Dan?
Yeah, but go ahead.
When the Ghost Rider demon jumps into Coulson to get that chick.
Yeah.
Dude, everything about that was awesome.
Yep.
I love that show so much, but that storyline in particular was like a standout. And I love that actor, and that actor is going to be in the new Terminator. I'm geeked.
Yeah, apparently he was going to reprise the role and everything. Like,
Yeah,
it was going to be about him.
Yeah. You wonder why that
they
show's having
also-
so much trouble getting spinoffs off the air.
Hulu's-
Because I was super excited about both of that. I would have been super excited about, and the
Hunter
and
what's his name?
her name.
It's weird. I loved him so much. Oh, he was Hunter.
Yeah,
he was
Hunter.
Hunter.
Yeah.
He was Hunter. What was her name? Mockingbird.
Mockingbird. There we go. I kept thinking
Oh,
Nightingale, but I knew it was
yeah.
wrong.
Does it make you wonder if like Disney's like, we might want to do a Ghost Rider for Disney Plus or something? Do you think
No,
something
not
like
really.
that?
I mean, like, I don't think Ghost Rider fits into the Disney Plus model. Like, the reason it works on Hulu is because it is a more edgy character.
Okay.
You know,
They're putting Moon Knight on Disney Plus.
I was gonna
right?
say
That's
we
fair.
don't know what
That's
any of
fair.
those we don't know what any of those shows are going to be like yet
Yeah.
to really
Yeah.
be like
Yeah.
they're
And
all
I guess,
they're
like,
all family friendly and
family
hugs.
friendly.
You know?
I was
the
gonna say-
ABC Ghost Rider worked fine.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah.
Hulu would have been a chance to take it edgier, but it didn't need to go there necessarily. However, again, with Disney owning pretty much all of Hulu, I don't see why they would cancel one just to switch it over to another. If they were really planning on doing anything on that level, I think they would just
Let it go.
move it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Unless they want to do something different. Maybe they want to do a Johnny Blaze show or something.
Yeah, possibly.
Well, Johnny Blaze was totally in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Was he?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
When they showed
Oh, it was like a
Robbie,
flashback?
yeah, it was like a flashback. When they showed his
I forgot about
origin,
that. Yep.
he totally like his car flipped or whatever, it was a wreck, and the kid's like crawling across the pavement, and totally just Johnny Blaze rolls up and he's like, "Here, kid," and gives him a little bit of fire and then drives off.
Well, maybe they want to do a Dan Ketch version.
Yeah, Danny Ketchum.
Yeah.
Danny Ketch.
I believe it's Ketch. I could be wrong there.
Yeah, the only
that's
thing.
the actual, like, that was my first Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
was the Dan Ketch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the only thing it really says on here, in addition to that, is that they still have a full plate of Marvel content coming down the pipes. They're moving forward with a third season of Runaways and all of the previously announced Hellstrom series.
Is that what they're calling the animated ones?
Oh, the streamer is also moving forward with its previously announced Hellstrom series as well as 4 animated projects. I don't know what the Hellstrom series is. What does that mean?
I don't know.
So I'm unaware of that one, apparently.
Okay.
But yeah, the animated projects, MODOK, Hitmonkey, Tigra and Dazzler, and Howard the Duck.
Right, welcome to the worst news show on the
That's
internet.
right. That's
We're not a
right.
news show. We're
Not-
a reaction
We're a
show.
reaction show. We're nerds talking about
not-
nerd
Which
stuff.
makes
not
us
doing-
a pretty bad news show.
I'm not doing research.
Yeah.
I don't know if this
Until I'm
were
getting
a
paid.
reaction show.
Until
I
I'm
feel
getting
like our
paid.
faces should be funnier.
Well, we got to make sure that our thumbnails have big arrows pointing to nothing and things circled in red. And
You got it.
Yeah. Okay.
You got it.
That's how we get views on YouTube, man.
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
When I try to search Hellstrom Hulu, it just comes up with all sorts of articles about how they're going to do a Ghost Rider show that I feel like might be outdated.
Okay, well, there's that then. All right. Well, why don't we move in to Marvel-related news then? We already talked about Kevin Feige a little bit, so there was some other big news with Kevin Feige this past week outside of the renewal of Spider-Man's contract, and that is that Kevin Feige has been tapped to develop a new Star Wars film. So he is moving over. It says, hoping to emulate the MCU, Disney have asked Marvel president to collaborate with producer Kathleen Kennedy on a new Star Wars film. I don't think that's really all the information we got.
there's
Is that
no-
Feige's going to be doing
yeah.
something for Star Wars. But it's interesting to see them. I mean, obviously, he's had huge success with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I think Disney feels kind of disappointed in Star Wars, or at least the reaction to Star Wars recently. So it does definitely seem like they're hoping to bring some of that magic over from the MCU into the world of Star Wars. Yeah. I am still not clear where they're going after the Skywalker trilogy. Obviously, they haven't announced anything, but I'm not. I don't really know what to expect with this news. To be perfectly honest, I don't know.
It's kind of a bittersweet's the best term I can think of. I don't know if that exactly fits. there's so many pros and cons to the thought of it. I love Kevin Feige and his work in the Marvel universe. I love Star Wars in general. So the idea of a creator I like taking on a property I like is good. However, I like Kevin Feige's work on the Marvel side, and there's more and more of it. So the thinner you stretch him, the more trouble you possibly lead into. Also, I feel like the idea is basically stated as we're going to bring the Marvel guy over to fix Star Wars. And though I have no problems with Feige working on a Star Wars movie, I don't feel like Star Wars needs fixing exactly.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gone so far down any holes that it can't come back from. I really, really, really liked The Last Jedi. I enjoyed Solo quite a bit, and it had its own unique, creative issues as they were making it, and I thought it still turned out pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
I don't think they need to halt everything and go back to, square one and start over with a new voice and direction. I think they just sort of need to slow down and maybe try some different ideas. But I don't think it's anything. I feel like this is a last-ditch effort to save something that isn't on its last leg. It's barely on its...
Yeah. Well, I don't think that's the deal. I think that I think that it's more like just an optics thing, because the news I heard is that David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, who did the Game of Thrones, right? They were supposed to be moving on to do the next Star Wars trilogy and kind of oversee that. Everybody's mad at them right now because the last season of Game of Thrones sucked. You know what I mean? So I think Disney was just kind of like, well, what sounds good?
Yeah.
What if we get Feige to do something?
Yeah.
And say he's going to be part of it.
Yeah.
Because that just sounds great.
Yeah.
I personally, I don't really understand what Kevin Feige's role is in Marvel. I know he's kind of credited for being like the overseer. He's the president, whatever. But it's not like he's directing movies. It's not like he's, he just kind of picks people and puts things together and is or whatever he does. I don't know. My point being that comparing Marvel to Star Wars is not like a 1-to-1. It's not comparable.
Yeah.
The thing he's been great at with the Marvel stuff is making it all so, bringing a whole universe together and making it all intertwine and gathering different pieces of the lore from different parts of the universe and being like, oh, look at this. Star Wars really, like as much expanded universe stuff as there has always been in the fandom, Star Wars is pretty much just a straight line as a property. So he can make plenty of stuff up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't think he would make a good movie. I'm just saying when you say Kevin Feige and Star Wars to me, I'm like, okay, shouldn't he just keep doing what he was?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Maybe,
cool, whatever.
Maybe that's part of my hesitation with it, because I hadn't put it in this thought until you just said that right there, but that is sort of, it is apples to oranges. They're both giant universes that are sort of interconnected,
right.
But with the Marvel Cinematic Universes, these are all characters who know each other, hang out together. Outside of the fact that some are on Earth and some are cosmic, so there is some separation in there. But for the most part, you've been telling cohesive stories that all blend together at some point. The biggest problem that expanding Star Wars has had since Disney took over is that people are kind of getting bored with the status quo and looking at more expanded stories.
Right.
So if you're going to do that, you don't necessarily need a guy who's going to tie them all together, because you should be telling stories of things that are, you're dealing with a whole universe now.
Yeah.
Not just superheroes mostly centered on Earth that offshoot a little bit. You're dealing with planet after planet after planet. None of these two stories ever have to touch each other.
Right.
So what is the point of bringing someone in who's going to tie it all together if your goal is to get away from the Skywalker story and do more open things anyway?
Yeah. I think they just really had no clue what they were getting into. Mm-hmm. You know, Star Wars just seemed like it was a license to print money. We own Star Wars now.
Yep. I definitely think that was their mindset when they started this whole thing.
Yep.
And I don't think that's been proven wrong.
I
think it just hasn't gone the way they wanted it to.
Yeah, well, it's definitely on the decline. I know as far as merchandise and toy sales go, it's like an all-time low for Star Wars stuff. Yeah, it's bad. It's like nobody's buying the toys, which has led to Hasbro producing a lot less of the stuff and people not really being excited for it anymore. And part of the problem with it is those movies come out so fast now that they are always working ahead to the next movie, and they're not allowing enough time for cool merchandise to come out.
Yeah.
Like, that's always a problem when you're making toys for movies anyway, because they always have to make the toys so far in advance, which means they're only given preliminary information about the movie that's coming out and early design elements for some of the main characters, so they make toys based off that, and then the movie comes out and their toys don't perfectly match what's in the movie, or they didn't make the toys of the characters people really wanted, but by that point they're already working on stuff for the next movie and they can't go back to fix the problem. Like, that's one of the problems with the world we're in right now, with how fast this stuff is coming out and everything. And one of the things that makes Star Wars so cool, especially in the toy world, are all the cool aliens and all the cool droids. And we've barely gotten any of that in the toy aisles for these new movies. These new movies have given us nothing but Finn and Poe and Rey and BB-8 and Snoke and Kylo Ren over and over and over and over and over again, and none of the cool weird characters from the background and stuff like that. So that has something to do with the fatigue too, honestly. Like, it's hard for fans to get excited about it as far as like wanting to like spend money and buy all that stuff and everything, when it feels like Disney's just kind of going through the motions and churning out this new stuff so rapidly that we can't keep up with it.
Well, it's not special anymore either.
It's not special. You're right.
You know, for one, like, Star Wars is like religion to Star Wars fans. You know what I mean? Like, it is so serious and so entrenched in, and they grew up and they loved it, and it was like their parents loved it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that was the thing on that 70s show, wasn't it? Like, it was this nerd thing for Eric until Red saw it, and then Red loved it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
oh, yeah.
You know?
I love that show.
but I mean, that's how it happened, you know? It was like this weird Star Wars movie came out, and all the kids loved it, and then all the adults went and saw it, and all the adults loved it, and then everybody has loved it ever since.
Yeah.
You know? But now we have all kinds of freaking space movies, and all kinds of magic movies, and all kinds of cool laser weapons, and people that do ninja stuff with it now. You know what I mean? Like, like, it's just not, you know, it's the foundation for all that stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All of those things exist because Star Wars was so great,
right?
But now it's got to compete with them.
Yeah,
right. Exactly.
Well, and we had the prequels that tried to advance what we saw with Star Wars, and nobody liked those.
Yeah,
not because of the visuals, because the story was weak and the acting was bad.
Yeah,
and it was.
We can take a whole side direction here on how bad George Lucas is at movies.
Wow.
Well, that's an interesting. I want to bring this up because
that's what
this just came up this week too. So Disney CEO Bob Iger released an autobiographical. Holy cow! A memoir.
Autobiographical.
There you go. Memoir. I cannot talk tonight. So in his memoir, he talks about George Lucas not liking the new Star Wars movies that Disney has done.
Does he get into Lucas's ideas?
Well, so here's what he goes on to say.
Another Death Star.
Another Death Star. Yeah. So Lucas felt there was nothing new. In each of the original films, the original trilogy films, it was important to George to present new worlds, new stories, new characters, and new technologies. In this one, he said there weren't enough visual or technical leaps forward. He wasn't wrong, but he also wasn't appreciating the pressure we were under to give ardent fans a film that they felt quintessentially Star Wars. So I can see that point too. Okay. He says, we intentionally created a world that was visually and tonally connected to the earlier films to not stray too far from what people loved and expected. And George was criticizing us for the very thing we were trying to do. He goes on to talk about how George was immediately upset as they began describing the plot to him because it dawned on George that they weren't using any of his ideas or stories that he submitted during negotiations. George knew we weren't contractually bound to anything, but he thought that our buying the story treatments was a tacit promise that we'd follow them, and he was disappointed that his story was being discarded. So that is really interesting stuff. Iger added, George felt betrayed. And while this whole process would never have been easy for him, we'd gotten off to an unnecessarily rocky start with him. Yeah. So that's really interesting stuff to hear.
May I expand slightly, though?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because a couple things on here. I really enjoyed The Force Awakens. Mm-hmm. Fully understanding that it's sort of a, New Hope clone.
Yep.
But I fully agree with basically what Disney was saying right there, is that we sort of needed to reground ourselves because 1, 2, and 3 were not well received. Now, I really liked 3 quite a bit. And I liked 2 more than a lot.
They got better as they went, for sure.
And 1 was straight garbage. But even throughout,
now that's pod racing.
Yeah, even throughout the parts that I liked, there's just elements of the overall story structure where I'm like, bah, and so just returning us to that floor, I enjoyed. I thought that was a great way to do it. With the Lucas part, when I first started reading those stories, it was the same thing. It was like, well, we bought this from George. George had ideas. We were going to try to do some of his stuff. We bought his treatments. He sort of assumed we were going to use some of that stuff, and he felt kind of betrayed when we basically just did, 4 again, right, and started off from there. And I kind of felt sorry. I'm like, well, I can see from his perspective going, all right, this is my baby, but I'm going to go ahead and move it on to someone else because I'm not going to do more with it. So hopefully they'll use some of my ideas and yada, 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 getting onto it. Well, then I read about what some of his ideas were. And they sounded so much worse than the prequels.
I was going to say, it's so, I have such a weird relationship with George Lucas, right? Because he obviously created what we loved about the original trilogy. But let's also not forget that, the one that everybody refers to as the best of the bunch, Empire Strikes Back, George didn't even direct that one, right?
No, he didn't direct Return either.
Right, exactly. Only A New Hope.
And even with the prequels, he tried to get people to take,
but he did. They told him he had to do it. Right?
Exactly.
They were like, "This is your stories. You need to direct
which
them."
At first I thought was like them being good friends and just telling me he really needs to do it. And then I saw them and I thought, oh, they read the scripts.
Yeah, nobody wanted
and
part of this.
Touch these things, because the whole thing, and I can't remember the terms, but it was like basically he was deep diving into the midichlorian thing. And the whole ideas were revolved around how there were these actual creatures that were called,
the fans hated the most about the prequels.
The expansion was that there were these creatures and they were called the Wisps or the Wills or something like that. And they were these unseen entities that controlled everything, and there where midichlorians came from, and it expanded on a bunch of that stuff. And I'm reading, and these are quotes from George Lucas, and I'm reading that, going, all sympathy draining quickly. And then even when it gets to the end, his final quote was most of the fans probably would have hated this. I'm like, then why are you mad that someone else bought it and did something different? Even no one likes your ideas.
That's that.
Cut it out.
That's that weird thing, though, sometimes where, you create something that everybody loves, and then you've got your kind of own idea for your story, but it doesn't really fit in line with what everybody else expects of the story. It is kind of a weird thing to think about,
for sure.
George wrote this stuff. He's got this whole thing in his head, and people don't really love his idea of things beyond what he originally created, and that's got to be kind of a weird feeling
I'm sure
for George. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know. Yeah. This whole thing is kind of.
However, either don't sell it and bury it with your own terrible ideas, or do sell it and get out of there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's he's not on some he's not on some social media campaign to what I mean. He's not he just voiced his opinion, and maybe he felt betrayed, and probably. I mean, we're getting it through a. This is
from Bob Iger talking about.
Bob Iger, and his biography,
right? That just came out.
You know what I mean. He
sell
wants
some books.
Sell some books, but the book needs to be interesting.
Yeah,
right. And if the book says, he gave us some ideas, we didn't use them, he was kind of disappointed. That's like, yep, makes sense. But if you put, George Lucas felt so betrayed, and he heard our ideas and realized we weren't using his ideas, and he felt so betrayed and got angry. You know what I mean? then that's interesting, and people will report on it on internet shows.
Totally fair.
Yep.
So
you're right. So I guess the future, we'll see what it holds. This Friday is Triple Force Friday, which is the
great
Force Friday, which is when all the new Star Wars product hits stores. So,
so this is when the Rise of the Skywalker gets ruined.
Yeah, yes, because all the new toys are going to start hitting the stores and everything this week. Actually, it's toys for both Rise of the Skywalker and The Mandalorian. All get the embargo lifts this Friday.
It's very interesting how you put into perspective how the toy world is affected by how quickly those movies came out. Mm-hmm. Because even when we started talking about this, my point was kind of like, slow down. Do you expand?
Remember the discussion we had before Force Awakens? Because remember the marketing before Force Awakens led us to believe that Finn was going to be the main character in the movies because they were hiding the twist that Rey was actually going to be the Jedi. So they marketed all the toys with Finn as the main character because most likely Hasbro and Funko and all the other people doing toys were not told about the twist because that's how things work. And there was an uproar that everybody was not making Rey action figures, and it's because she's a woman. Remember that? Yep. That was like a thing that happened, and it wasn't necessarily that was the case. It was more that they had to try to play catch up after it was revealed. Oh crap, Rey's the main character of the movies, and we pumped out all this product with Finn on the box. Yep. But that's the way the marketing was going for that movie.
There was no way to avoid that from the toy perspective.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, and that's the kind of stuff that happens all the time in the toy world, especially nowadays with how fast this stuff happens. So it's real crazy, man.
Well, it's like the episodes themselves. I'm really at a loss sometimes because it is so widely varied on who appreciates them and who absolutely hates them. And like most things, there doesn't seem to be a lot of middle ground.
Right.
Know? But it's one of those where I really, really like both those episodes. But it's hard for me to argue with people who didn't because their reasoning is sound. Because most of the complaints I heard about episode 7 was that it was too much of the same thing. And people wanted something kind of new. All right, well, if that's your perspective, that's fine, because it is pretty much just a 4 clone. Mm-hmm. There you go. No big deal. And then the biggest argument that at least that I can give credence to on episode 8 was that, like, they went, they basically did the same thing with 7 and then went completely off rails with 8, and now it's totally completely different, and it was like too much correction there, which again, I really enjoyed most of the stuff they did with 8, but at the same time, I can totally see that point of view.
It's super weird, right? Like the first one was criticized for being a little too much like the old ones, and then they did go like kind of bananas with the second one, and they really changed course, and that was just too much for people, and that's why most people apparently hate that movie, And
again, I thought they were both really well made, and I enjoyed them both, but I can't argue with somebody who goes, man, they just completely changed everything. Well, yeah, I mean, they kind of did, but everybody was complaining because they didn't change anything with the first one.
Yeah.
Which is also
so
true.
maybe they didn't, they just didn't find the right middle ground with both of them, right?
They went a little... They feel discombobulated as a pair right now, and I don't know if 3's going to fix that, and I don't really know, I didn't have the frame of reference. When 1, 2, or when 4, 5, and 6 came out, I was 1 when 5 came out. I wasn't born when 4 came out. So, I watched these all later, and I could watch them back to back and see them.
Same
here.
I
don't know if there was... I don't know what the feeling was between movies with 4, 5, and 6.
Right.
I have no idea if it felt discombobulated or not. But I will say, 7 and 8 don't necessarily feel like they play that well together. and it makes me think that if you're going to do a brand new trilogy, you should probably have more of it mapped out at the beginning in order to provide some sort of cohesiveness. Unless you are willing to take on the criticism of that they feel discombobulated.
I don't know. I don't feel like they felt discombobulated. I thought they followed a very progression that made sense. In the first one, my favorite thing about Force Awakens is how excited all the kids are to be part of everything. You know what I mean? Like, they feel like Star Wars fans, and they are. You know what I mean? Like, Rey's super excited to meet, like, you're Han Solo. This is the Millennium Falcon. You know what I mean? When they do that thing, I love the moment right after they escape on that planet, in the Millennium Falcon, right after they escape, and they both come, like, running into the hallway, and they're like, oh my gosh, did you see that? We did that thing, and then the thing happened. That was amazing. You know what I mean? Because that's how I would feel in that movie.
That's what the audience is doing at that moment.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But then in the second one, and so they kind of go through and they get pulled into this thing, and it's like through the first one, it stops becoming like this fantasy, like this myth story, and they get pulled into it, right? And then the second one is like all about them finding their place in that story. To me, it felt like it ran straight through. The other thing I have to say, like, the first three weren't planned as a trilogy. Right. The first one just happened, and then they were like, well, all right, George.
Yep.
We got nothing else coming out this weekend. You know what I mean? And then it was the biggest thing ever. So,
Well, but that's exactly my point of saying, like, I don't know how the first three played together because I don't have a frame of reference for that. I wasn't, like, when I saw them as a unit.
Right. Yeah.
And I have no idea if someone 10 years from now will see these three as a unit and feel the exact same way. Being right here in the middle, there are just aspects of it that feel like, for instance, like the Rey lineage stuff. We don't know where that's going. But I get the impression both from the movies and from the behind the scenes stuff that they also don't know where that's going. And that's not necessarily bad depending on how it ends up, but it's a little weird that you wouldn't have that kind of thing.
That's J.J. Abrams.
No, that's not, though. Because J.J. Abrams set up that there was a big deal going on, and then Rian Johnson came in and went, nope, it means absolutely nothing. And now I feel like J.J. Abrams is coming back in and going, nope, it really is a big deal. And maybe that will work as a whole unit when we've seen them all. I mean, I have every faith that it will. I'm not coming in I'm not coming in as a person who is negative on these movies, but that is something to me that feels like if you're going to sit down and end the Skywalker story that's been going on for 40 years, you're going to have an outline of all three of those movies at once. And it both from the behind the scenes stuff that I've read is that basically Abrams came in, did his movie, and then they were moving on to, because it was supposed to be Rian Johnson and then Colin Trevorrow from the Jurassic franchise.
Yeah.
And they were basically going to make their own movies with like notes and moving on from the first.
Mm-hmm.
That feels like a weird way to do it to me. I would think you would want an outline of where you're going with this, lest you run into the idea where now I'm a little worried that it's going to feel like 7 and 9 fit together and 8's this weird outlier. And I don't want that because I really like 8. So 8 felt like it removed a bunch of stuff 7 had set up, which is fine if it's going somewhere. But if 9 comes in and just puts it all back in place, that's going to feel odd. And that's all speculation. I don't know if that's going to happen that way, but there's that fear there, and I get that fear.
Okay.
I'm excited for The Mandalorian.
Well, that's just because you're like positioned or whatever with the ideal email handle.
Oh yeah, you're
going
to get all sorts of messages from people who really like your show.
I've been a fan of this show for like 20 years because it's been my email the whole time. Yeah.
Just reminded me of that Simpsons gag. This guy just writes letters to movies. Dear Die Hard, you rock.
Oh man! All right,
I'm a little offended you guys didn't Just mention the Clerk. Pick up on the Clerks 2 reference.
Uh-oh. I missed the Clerks 2 reference?
Yeah.
I totally missed
it. Just made it right to your face.
You did make it right to my face.
Yeah, I still haven't caught it.
Remember when they're talking about the Transformers getting ready to come out, what's Elias is like, because he's got the Optimus Prime email or website or something.
Yeah, that's
so he's like I'm positioned or whatever.
Well, it was like bots to cars to bots.com, or it was something like that.
Well, no, that was his email was like Optimus Prime something. The bots to cars thing was that website he was recommending to Randall when Randall was ordering the Donkey Show.
Oh man,
and then he was talking to
cars. Yeah, dude. Jeez.
Are you looking for a website to talk about Transformers?
Are you looking for the ultimate website to talk about Transformers? At carstobots.com. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But no, when he was talking about because he had that email handle, he was like, I'm positioned or whatever with like the ideal net handle.
If God made man and man made Transformers, it's kind of like Transformers are a gift from God.
Yeah.
No, sir, they are not a gift from God. Transformers are like a gift from God, Randall.
It just made fun of a Lord of the Rings nerd, so hard he puked.
All right, the rest of this episode is Clerks 2 quotes because, oh my God.
I'm throwing some Clerks animated.
Oh my God.
It's a gift from the desolate one. Let me help you out of your chair, Grandma.
He takes off running with his headset on. Oh my
Jake comes climbing in the window singing a song with him.
Oh my goodness. All right, are we moving on from Star Wars and Kevin Feige then?
Please, let's do it.
Okay.
What's next?
We've got a couple of DC things to discuss, I think.
If we're talking about the idea of Tobey Maguire playing Peter B. Parker,
okay,
we might as well bring up the idea of Brandon Routh playing Kingdom Come Superman.
Why?
Welcome back to 20 minutes ago, John. Thank you very much.
I told you I had 3 segues lined up.
Why, John, that's not even something to just talk about. That's a real thing that's happening.
Holy shnikes.
So we've talked about the Crisis on Infinite Earths big crossover event that the CW is doing in the past with some of the other announcements. And it feels like they just keep announcing more people. And we've recently, this past week, got a photo, our first look at Brandon Routh as Superman, which is like the Kingdom Come version of Superman, right? Because he's like supposed to be the older, grizzled Superman. Yeah. He looks pretty great. I mean, the costume itself. He's got the black S on the suit. I will say the only thing I'm going to say is that he doesn't look quite as grizzled as Alex Ross's interpretation of Superman from that era. Like, that Superman had seen some things.
Nobody looks as grizzled as that guy draws.
Anything that Alex Ross draws, you're right. That's fair. That's a fair point.
As hardcore as I marked out for that photo, I would agree, like, on the basis that
he still looks very pretty.
He looks just like Brandon Routh, who was also in those shows.
Yeah.
So I'm still interested how that's going to play.
Oh, that's right, because he was
he's the Atom.
He was the Atom. You're totally right.
Which I'm a couple of years behind on all of those shows, but the last time I watched, he was still in them. I don't know if he ever actually left or if he's still in it or what's going on.
I'm way behind too, so I'm not sure. But I mean, I guess they're doing, a multiverse thing.
Yeah. I'm gonna buy whatever they sell me.
Right? Doesn't matter.
Don't get me wrong. I couldn't be more excited about that. But all of that stuff they're doing is awesome. They're bringing back Tom Welling.
Yep.
Maybe in suit, maybe not, but at least as a Clark Kent. I think I know her name too. The Smallville Lois Lane is going to be showing up in it. The Supergirl, Superman, and Lois Lane are coming back for it. Kevin Conroy is actually going to play Batman,
which is just the greatest.
You can actually see him for once ever. That's the best thing.
He's playing old Adam West, Adam West, old Bruce Wayne.
Nope.
Yeah.
Adam West was an old Bruce Wayne.
That makes me 99% as happy as the Brandon
Me
Routh Kingdom
too.
Come thing does.
Did they confirm Mark Hamill doing Joker too? Because that was one of the things that
I have
kept
not
coming
seen
up.
that.
And oh my god, dude! If we get Kevin Conroy as Batman and Mark Hamill as Joker, I mean, they might as well just stop anything DC after that because
sure,
that's it right there.
it.
Which would be funny too, because Mark Hamill's
Top of the
also
line.
already in that universe. But that would be a really easy one
He
to fix because the
was-
Joker doesn't look like.
Was
like
that guy's
a
name
prankster or
Trickster?
Yeah,
He's like a Flash villain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which he was basically just doing a Joker voice
Exactly.
for. Like every time
Well,
he
and
was
it's
on,
funny,
I
too,
was like,
because
I love it.
Didn't he play the
He
Trickster in the old Flash
He did.
TV show?
Yeah. So he reprised his role as that already. They do so
Yep.
many cool things like that.
Yeah, they
anyway,
do a lot of fun stuff.
Because we've gotten like that original Flash also in the Flash stuff because they've already done all this multiverse stuff.
Yep.
Like they've introduced this throughout because of Flash with all
Yeah.
the time travel stuff and everything. Man,
I mean,
so
that's still like at least again. I don't know if anything's happened since, but at least in the early days, even when Supergirl made the jump over to CW, because Flash and Arrow are in the same world, they can just travel cities. But their Supergirl, they kept the idea that she was in a different reality, basically, because they still have to portal back and forth to that show.
Yes.
So, I mean, yeah, they do a lot of the fun stuff like that. I did also hear that I believe they approached Michael Rosenbaum, but he...
For Lex?
Yeah, I think he passed on it.
Oh, wow.
I believe that was how the story went. Yeah, bummer. I mean,
That's fine.
whatever his reasoning, cool. But
I guess
I mean, he was the best part of that Smallville show, so it would have been nice to see.
Hamill's not confirmed yet, but he's heavily rumored to be playing
Okay.
Joker, which means they might be saving that as like an announcement.
Yeah.
You know, I almost can't imagine he wouldn't. You know what I mean?
And is the Batgirl show starting this year?
Yes.
So I would imagine a lot more Batman lore is going to make its way in anyway.
Yes.
So
What about Jared Leto?
Well, I think he's done, dude.
What?
I think he's out.
As opposed to Tom Weller, who's
I'm just
still...
saying. Well, I mean, yeah, but I think it's a different kind of situation because
Yeah.
I think I don't know if
Leto seems a lot more uppity than Tom Welling. Can't guarantee that. Never met either of them.
Yeah.
Just saying. Now, I mean, this is sort of a loose segue into the non-news of the Suicide Squad photo that surfaced this week. Also, they basically did a cast photo of Suicide Squad, and I don't know how much of it's surprise and how much of it was already known. I didn't know a ton going into it, so there's a few things that caught me as news. Joel Kinnaman's in the photo. I didn't know for sure if he'd be back or not. He was Rick Flag in the first one.
Yeah.
Because this is one of those weird,
trying to find this photo.
it's like a sequel and a remake at the same time, I think. Because it's still got, the Rick Flag, it's still got Jai Courtney as Boomerang, Captain Boomerang, and it's still got Harley Quinn in it. But then it's got a whole bunch of other, there's no Will Smith.
John Cena's in it though.
Yeah, John Cena will be in it. He wasn't in the photo, but he will be in the movie. Nathan Fillion was in the photo. I don't remember ever seeing that name bandied about, but nobody knows who any of these people are playing also, except for a couple of them in addition to the ones that are reprising their roles. Right. So it'll be very interesting.
Well, that was
to
the
see
thing
how that
in the comics,
out.
right? Suicide Squad was usually they brought in different people because so like that makes sense either way.
Yeah, for sure.
Although
but it's just one of those
like to see Will Smith back, but
yeah, for sure.
He'll probably be busy making Genesis Man,
Gemini Man 2
sequels. Gemini Man expanded universe.
Oh no,
we're all clones of each other.
Amazing! I can't wait.
I just remember seeing that preview and how disappointed I was that I had mixed it up. I thought it was a Glimmerman remake.
Glimmerman. Well, speaking of Suicide Squad 2, we should also talk about the new trailer that just dropped for Birds of Prey, which has the subtitle
Fantabulous Emancipation of
Harley Quinn.
Yeah. Oh, weird.
Yeah, so the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn.
There you go.
That's the name of the movie.
Oh, weird.
I'll start off being
go for it.
Hesitantly negative on this movie because that's what DC's earned at this point.
Yeah.
I liked Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn as part of Suicide Squad. I did not like Suicide Squad very much. I liked parts of Suicide Squad very much. I liked a lot of performances in Suicide Squad quite fine. So that's always a movie, like I hate talking about Suicide Squad because I either go negative or go positive, and either way I feel funny about it.
I enjoy watching Suicide Squad. I hold no illusions that movie is any good. Like
Yeah.
It's
That's totally a thing. Like, it's dumb fun.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
It's a
But
train wreck.
Yeah.
But it's one of those that's like fun to look at.
Exactly.
People burning and little kids running around on fire. Like it's a good train wreck.
52 pop songs in the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Because it worked for Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, they didn't have a method
That's
behind
why.
it. They just
That's
did
why
it
was
right?
good. That's why Guardians of the Galaxy was good.
The music, duh.
Yeah.
That's how they did it.
So, anyway, as far as the Harley Quinn character goes, I like her in the DCU.
Yeah.
I am interested in a movie that features her. The whole marketing on the first trailer here feels very weird to me because it is titled as a Birds of Prey movie that strongly features Harley Quinn.
I was saying, it looks just like a Harley Quinn
Exactly.
movie. Why aren't they
then
just
you
calling
watch
this
the
movie
trailer
Harley
and
Quinn?
it's clearly just a Harley Quinn. At least the trailer.
Yeah.
Like, at the end, they list a bunch of actresses' names, so you know that there are some Birds of Prey. But as you watch the trailer, it's just a Harley Quinn movie with some nameless side characters that may or may not do anything the entire time. You know?
Yeah, so, I mean, like, we got Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Huntress. We've got Journey Smollett Bell as Black Canary, so we know that they're there. Oh, Zaz is in the movie? Victor Zaz?
Oh.
That's the knife guy, the Batman villain. And then Ewan McGregor, who's easily going to be the best part of this movie, right?
Probably.
is playing Black Mask, which is kind of an interesting villain.
Yeah, except even then, like...
But he's not even wearing the mask.
It's early to assume that there will be a best part of this movie, right?
Oh, yes.
Fair.
Oh,
Fair.
yes.
I'm not... I try very hard not to be the guy who's like, oh, that character looks different than I remember. I don't like it. But in this case, I don't know enough about Black Mask to be excited about the Black Mask.
I liked him in that Batman game.
Well, I was going to say, if you're going to put him in your movie and never actually have him in a mask, why not just give him a different name and let Ewan McGregor just be
Ewan McGregor.
new or different character? You know what I mean? Like, who is going to see that and go, oh, they're finally putting the Black Mask in a movie, and then go buy a ticket? And won't that person be upset when it's not?
Yeah.
Now, granted, this is practically also a slightly upgraded teaser, so we don't know anything. This movie could be 30% Harley Quinn and 70% everyone else.
Well,
Ewan McGregor may be wearing the mask in 12 out of 15 scenes, and we just happen to see parts of 2 of those scenes.
Because they want us to know that Ewan McGregor's in it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which, in fairness to them, good call.
Yeah.
Because I was immediately more excited for this movie because of that.
Well, it immediately makes me think of Once Upon a Time in Mexico, where, they had a whole movie that was a sequel to Desperado, thank you. And then Pirates of the Caribbean came out, and all of a sudden Johnny Depp was the biggest star ever, and they tried to make that side... you know what I mean? His little side part that probably should have taken up about 20 minutes of that movie turned into the lead storyline and the main character of that sequel.
Wow.
They did. Did you ever see that?
No, I never did.
Like, no joke, because no one listening to this has ever seen or remembers Once Upon a Time in Mexico. And I forget, as much as... I love Pirates of the Caribbean so much that I forget how hard it ruined that movie. Because exactly that.
Amazing.
Like, that movie was going to be a fun Robert Rodriguez expansion on Desperado.
Yep.
And then Curse of the Black Pearl hit.
Yeah.
And they immediately ran back to the editing bay and took every piece of footage Johnny Depp had shot and tied it into that movie somehow.
Yeah.
And I use the term tied loosely because none of it made a lick of sense.
Nope.
It was all stupid.
Yep.
And that movie sucked.
So bad.
Yeah.
It was so bad, and his character was so dumb.
Yeah, exactly.
So
well, because
dumb.
most of his appearance in that movie was him like ad-libbing.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
Because I mean, like you hear stories about that. Like the magic of movies is where sometimes they just keep the camera rolling and they do it 5 or 6 times, and the one that the actor just came up with on the spot is the one they used.
Right.
Except in this case, they used all 6 of them.
Yeah, and the longest one, the longest take they had.
Exactly.
It was so bad, and he was so weird. Like, and not weird like Jack Sparrow was weird. He was weird because he was like an American agent whose job was to keep Mexico level, like normal, or like at a not extraordinary. Yeah. Like at one point he's eating this pork dish, and he's like, somebody asked him like, what do you do? And he's like, I order this pork dish everywhere I go, and this is the best pork dish I've ever had. Here, you should have some. In fact, it's so good, as soon as I'm finished with it, I'm gonna walk in the kitchen, I'm gonna shoot the chef because he's too good to be in Mexico. And like then that's what happens, Then that's his explanation for what he does, like his job.
Yeah.
And then he just does that. He just
all right.
Yeah, it's so weird. Yeah. It's so weird.
Yeah, not the good kind.
And goes nowhere.
Because that's the funny thing. With Johnny Depp, pretty much all of his movies you can describe as going, God, he's so weird. And that means vastly different things over those movies. It either means he's excellent or this is unwatchable.
Right.
Drink up my oddies, yo.
That's one of the excellent ones.
There's a character in this movie whose name is Scantily Clad Crystal.
I also hear King Shark's supposed to be in it.
Why does that make me think of what's the Bucktooth Baby Eating O'Brien?
What is that from?
From the roll call in Muppets Treasure Island.
Okay.
Tom,
amazing.
Old Tom, Dead Tom, Bucktooth Baby Eating O'Brien is like this hot chick. She's like, hey.
I believe that will be available on launch
on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I think a lot of the old Muppet stuff.
Love that movie.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That was the one. That was the one that sold me on the Muppet. I don't know, remakes, movies, classics. I don't even know.
Okay.
On them continuing to make Muppet movies?
Well, I didn't like Muppet Christmas Carol.
Oh, I thought you did.
I like it more now.
Okay.
It grew on me when it came out, and I think I was just at the wrong age.
Yeah.
Like when it came out, I was like, this is dumb. And I was a little older when it came out, and I was kind of like transitioning from kid stuff to adult stuff, so I wasn't too into that. But when I saw Muppet Treasure Island, I was like, okay, I can't not like that.
I will always find joy in quoting Muppets Take Manhattan, the old diner guy. Anytime I don't know what else to say, I can just go, Peoples is Peoples. His no buildings.
There's no buildings.
Yeah. His music, his dancing, his tomatoes, his Peoples. It's the best thing ever.
I like the Muppets.
I love the Muppets.
All right, well, Birds of Prey, I guess, is a wait and see.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it.
I think that's all.
I mean, what has DC got in the pipeline? They got that Joker movie coming out, which we'll try to talk about on the next podcast.
Yes.
Wonder Woman sequel.
Wonder Woman sequel.
The Aquaman sequel.
Shazam. Are they doing another Shazam? I thought they had announced that for sure.
I hadn't seen that, but I'd be shocked if they didn't.
We're still hoping for a Black Adam.
That's right.
Starring The Rock.
Yeah, theoretically, The Rock is also supposed to be a Shazam somewhere. We'll see.
Well, did you see? There was like the alternate cut or whatever. There was a deleted scene on Shazam where they tease Black Adam.
Oh, really? No, I didn't see.
Yeah, so it was on the Blu-ray where the whole ending is them all sitting in the thrones in the little lair or whatever, and then they're kind of like, hey, why is there an extra chair? And then like it pans over to the extra chair, and it's like, boom, boom, boom. That's the Black Adam teaser because he's like the last member of the family.
I did see that they had released like basically a description of what the Henry Cavill scene was supposed to be like before he backed away from Superman, and they just showed the S basically.
Oh, okay.
There, you know.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
there wasn't much more to
Right,
it, you know.
right.
There was a little bit of interaction. But that's the last thing news-wise I've seen out of Shazam. But again, I mean, it did fine and it was well received. I
had a lot of fun with that movie.
Yeah, I would be surprised if they didn't do another one. But I really also feel like they're waiting on. I really want to see what Joker does to the DCEU.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
It's getting like a lot of positive buzz too,
Yeah.
isn't it?
A
So
lot of weird, like a lot of positive buzz, but also like a lot of weird reaction. I don't know. It'll be very interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out and what it does to the entire universe.
Yeah.
You're right. That's going to be
because if Joaquin Phoenix wins an Oscar and this movie makes a ton of money and this is all people are talking about for the next 2 months, we are going to see a bunch of weird DC movies coming up. Which again, pass or fail, I'm excited about.
excellent. Well, I think that's going to do it. I think that got us through all of our topics for today's episode of the show. I did not get any fan questions out there because I've had kind of a hectic travel schedule, so I apologize for that. I'll make sure that questions return for the next episode. I'll put something up on the Facebook page. So if you're not already following us on Facebook, make sure you do that. Just do a search for the Geek Easy Podcast and hit that like button. That way you can keep up with episodes of this show as well as episodes of the Freak Easy Podcast, which is our October spinoff talking about horror movies. Plus anything else that we're doing is all gets plugged right there on the Facebook page. So that's the best way to keep up with us. Aside from that, you can subscribe to this podcast in several different formats, depending on what your preferred way to listen or view us is. If you like videos, you can find us on YouTube. Do a search for the Geek Easy Podcast, hit that subscribe button, and comment on those videos. That really helps get the videos out there in the algorithm. If you want to do audio stuff, you can find us on iTunes, Apple stuff, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, or any of your preferred podcasting platforms. So rate us, follow us, leave us comments and ratings and all that good stuff to help us spread the word on the show. Any final thoughts, gentlemen?
Have you guys played the Genesis Mini yet?
I have not. Have you?
No.
Yeah, I really dig it. I think we can talk about it more expanded when we're not on the final thoughts segment.
Yeah.
Played it.
Yeah, I need to.
But,
I still need to get one.
Came out
but-
to a lot less fanfare than I expected, but I've been really happy
Did
with
it? Maybe you're not looking in the right places because.
Well, I was looking at my local Walmart at midnight where there was a
you were
bunch of
talking. Okay,
people-
okay.
Well, like there was a bunch of people waiting for the Super Nintendos.
You know-
and there was no one there for the
Nintendo
for the
stuff
Genesis.
does that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Nintendo has that brand recognition.
Yeah.
You know, because for a time it was like Coke, you know, like whether you were playing Atari or Genesis or an arcade game, you know, grandma thought you were playing a Nintendo.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So-
totally,
for sure.
totally.
And that's totally fair. However, like I expected.
I've seen nothing but positives though, as far as like this system. Like it's being referred to as the best of the mini so far,
Yeah.
as just
Yeah.
like the quality of it and everything that's on there.
I don't know if I'd put it above either Nintendo,
No.
but I'd put it with. I mean, it is a representation or replication or whatever the word would be of what I had when I was younger.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Which is what all of three of the main ones have been, and I'm
I'm
happy
excited
with
to
them. Well, three
grab
of the four
it.
main ones.
Yeah, I'm excited to grab it. I just haven't had a chance to yet.
Yeah, so-
I have been busy playing Untitled Goose Game. You guys are just gonna have to go look at that so you know what it
Okay.
is. But it's just the most amazing game.
Let's leave it with that.
Yep.
But let's talk about the Genesis next time more when we
Okay,
talk about
sounds
Joker.
great. Let's do that then. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Geek Easy Podcast. Until next time, my friends.
The Geek Easy Podcast is a production of PixelDan.com. Musical tracks used in the intro and outro are used with full permission of the respective owners or creators. Intro and outro narrations are provided by me, Brian T. Stevenson. PixelDan.com's The Geek Easy Podcast is provided for entertainment purposes only. The views expressed are those solely of the hosts or guests and do not necessarily represent those of PixelDan.com or any other party. Be sure to join us next time for another installment of the Geek Easy Podcast.